welcome into an Ask Anything Dolphins mailbag. As always, fired up to be with you. And as always, it's an Ask Anything mailbag on a Wednesday. So if you see something that might be a little bit outdated, just move on to the next question. No problems whatsoever. And most importantly, make sure you share this video with not one, not two, not three, but I'm challenging you to share this video with 5 Dolphins friends. I know you've got 5 friends, and I know you've got 5 friends that would benefit from seeing today's episode of Dolphins Today. So share this video, and let's get into it. Our first question from Tim B. says, can you watch the Combine, and so where at? Great question. Lots of different ways to watch, and far and away, the best is on our Chat Sports main channel. We're breaking it down like nobody else can. So if you haven't subscribed to our Chat Sports main channel, make sure you do. That's where all of your content coverage and Combine coverage can be found. And if you want the televised version, that's on NFL Network. I believe Rich Eisen is anchoring the coverage, but the better coverage option, Chat Sports, and of course, Dolphins Today by Chat Sports. We've been posting tons of short clips, interview clips on the channel as well. We've got Chase Sr. down there, Trace Gerard, Sam Brown, Tom Downing, and his producer Chris, whose last name is escaping me. Awesome dude, but Chris Daughtry, that's right. And Harrison Graham, tons of guys from Chat Sports, boots on the ground. We've been referring to them as the boys in Indy. That's right, the boys in Indy are bringing you all the latest from the NFL Combine. So subscribe today. This question from champion_2038. Any new updates on Tua? Funny you ask. Lots of new updates on Tua because Chris Grier, the Dolphins general manager, spoke to the media today. And I will give you the Spark Notes version, a little summary action. Basically, Chris Grier and the Dolphins representation, or Tua's representation, I should say, have had positive conversations that are leading towards a contract extension. They're hopeful that it gets done and still optimistic, but no timetable as of yet. The goal is to have it done before the beginning of next season. This one's coming in from Patrick Starr. Oh, my goodness. He's a star. Patrick Starr. Will the NFLPA rankings help the Dolphins attract free agents? Great question. Yes, and if you weren't with us at the beginning of today's show, the Dolphins scored the best rankings from the NFLPA. The report card looks like one from Jack Lauderay because it's straight A's, my friends. And Stephen Ross received the highest ranking of any NFL owner. Mike McDaniel received an A. All of the facilities received A or A- rankings. And according to the president of the NFLPA, the Dolphins and Vikings, but more the Dolphins than the Vikings because the Dolphins had the best, blew everybody else out of the water as far as team or player-friendly places to play, and the Dolphins were far and away, unequivocally, the best team to play for in 2023. So I think free agents are certainly smart enough for that to register as a check in the pro box when evaluating where they want to spend their future in the National Football League. So Miami, warm, great rankings. NFLPA says it's the best organization, great coaching staff. There's so many reasons if I'm a free agent why I'd want to play for Mike McDaniel and the Aqua and Orange. Let me know what you think as it relates to free agents. What free agents should the Dolphins pursue? Lots of good ones out there. We've done tons of different cuts on who the Dolphins should pursue, so make sure you check them out because I think this team could upgrade at a couple of different key positions through the free agency window. And not to worry because the Dolphins are going to clear tons of cap space. They've already cleared a ton by cutting Emmanuel Ogbah and cutting Xavier Howard. I think more cuts are on the way, and we should expect to see some free agent targets when the free agency period starts in March. This one's from Fireman805. Any news on pursuing a tight end? I wish there was because that's the position I feel most strongly about in which the Dolphins can improve and upgrade at not too expensive of a cost through free agency. My top 3, Dalton Schultz, who was originally with the Cowboys, had a couple of good years with them, spent last season with the Houston Texans. Again, a free agent, somebody that I think could certainly help the Miami Dolphins. Hunter Henry, another free agent tight end that I don't think it'd be a huge upgrade over Durham Smythe, but it would be an upgrade. And kind of the wild card in this is Noah Fant, who started with his career in Denver, then played for the Seattle Seahawks, and a guy that huge frame, runs a 4.5 40, showed a lot of promise, but just hasn't really materialized into that NFL star. And maybe Tua Tagovailoa and Mike McDaniel's offense is exactly what Noah Fant needs, and I think he'd be an upgrade at the tight end position. This one's coming in from Chucky. Chris Grier, all options being discussed with Christian Wilkins. What do you think will happen? Let me work backwards on this because it's a loaded question with a lot of layers. First and foremost, and most importantly, I think Christian Wilkins is going to be a Dolphin. Now, is that a long-term extension or is that the franchise tag? The two sides reportedly were very, very close last year to a new deal, but in the final hour, Christian Wilkins and his camp wanted a little bit more. Now, what happens? Fast forward through 2023, Christian Wilkins has a breakout year, bets on himself, and Mike McDaniel even said this, that by Christian Wilkins' performance, he's earned the right to be valued as highly as he is and get paid either by the Dolphins or by somebody else. NFL.com did their top 100 free agents, and that's right, Christian Wilkins was number 4 on that list. So certainly highly coveted across the National Football League, and I think the Dolphins are going to find a way to extend him long term because in addition to his on-field performance and what the statistical measures are, there's also the leadership qualities that he brings to the locker room. He plays with an edge. You saw it on Hard Knocks. He is far and away the best vocal leader on that Dolphins defense, and so I think the Dolphins are going to find a way to lock him up long term. But let me know what you think. Where will Christian Wilkins play next season, either with Miami or somebody else? Because as I mentioned, he is one of the most coveted free agents on the list in 2024, and I think if the Dolphins don't pay him or at least franchise tag him, somebody will. Today's Ask Anything mailbag is presented by Game Time, proud supporter and sponsor of Dolphins Today, and most importantly, the only ticketing app you'll ever need because it's simply the best. They've got flash deals. They've got all-in pricing, so you know exactly what you're going to pay for the ticket. Easy-to-use app with a high-res photo from your seat, so there's no deception. Couple of clicks, and you've got the lowest price to that event guaranteed. And we're not just talking sporting events. Don't forget about your live shows, your concerts, comedy clubs, whatever it is. Game Time is your one-stop shop for all of those. And let me tell you a little bit about those flash deals because it's one of those things that once you see it, it'll change your life. The flash deal pops up, and you know this is the best price to this event, and I'm making it happen even if it's last minute. In fact, Game Time specializes in last-minute ticket deals, guaranteeing the lowest price. What gets better than that? In short, nothing. Nothing gets better than that. So use our promo code FINSCHAT for $20 off. And you might think, how am I going to remember that? Well, don't worry. We'll put it right in the comments and description of today's video. So you got no excuse. Download the Game Time app. Terms do apply. $20 off when you use that promo code FINSCHAT. It's the best seats in the house. Lowest price guaranteed. And this is an even added nugget. As the events gets closer and closer, the tickets get cheaper and cheaper. So it's good for procrastinators like me. Download the Game Time app. Use that promo code FINSCHAT for $20 off on Game Time. Now, question coming in from Firefighter841. What was your impression on the press conference McDaniels did? I started to answer this question a little bit ago and want to revisit what I meant in that Mike McDaniel, he's funny. He's unapologetically himself. I do think the players play for him. He's a little bit unconventional. But when it comes to press conferences, he's going to say and ramble on and kind of be a little bit spacey and not really say anything at all. It'll kind of be something like, that's a really good point that I didn't think of. And now that you say it out loud, what we do, and then he rambles, and you don't really get anything for it. So love Mike McDaniel, offensive wizard, offensive genius, but when it comes to sound bites and what he's going to tell you, he's going to say a lot of things that doesn't really say anything at all. That said, love Mike McDaniel. Question from Every Noodle. How does A.J. Barner sound as our round 5 pick? Not a bad idea. A.J. Barner, tight end, played at Michigan and has that pro-style build. But I think as the combine approaches, and now that we're in the week of the combine, when the tight ends test, that could impact his draft stock because he's more of that old school pro style tight end that can block and catch passes, which has value certainly, but how many times are we seeing these tight ends essentially be glorified wide receivers? I mean, go all the way back to when Jimmy Graham as a tight end said, no, I'm a wide receiver. Pay me like a wide receiver. I think that seems to be more and more the build of pro tight ends. George Kittle, even though he blocks his ass off, he's one of the best blockers. That's a terrible example. But you get the point. Some of these tight ends are so dynamic as receivers that we lose sight of some of the other responsibilities that a prototypical tight end might have. And I would say A.J. Barner is a guy that really can block pretty well, has that pro-style build. And so if he's still available at the 5th round, I don't hate that pick whatsoever. Now, is that a huge upgrade over Durham Smythe? He would certainly have to prove it on the field. But let's say the way the draft works out, the Dolphins maybe take some offensive linemen early. They had some edge rushers. They had a wide receiver. And then here we are in the 5th round needing to add a tight end. I like that pick. Oh, Ricky Williams is in the comment. What's up, Ricky? Run, Ricky, run. Dolphins want to get Tua extension done before the season starts. Will it happen? I think in a word, yes, it will happen. And as Chris Grier kind of said, there's no exact way to formulate and predict a timeline with all of this. But anytime the general manager and Tua's side has also been vocal about positive conversations happening, and both sides wanting to reach a deal, you got to expect it's going to happen. Now, projecting it, I do think it's going to be a 4-year, maybe about $180 million with $100 of that million guaranteed. There's a lot of different ways to try to evaluate what Tua is worth and what he'll get. Spotrac is a good site for you if you want to check it out yourself, and that's exactly where they're at with it. Somewhere between 4 and 5 years, $180 million, 105 of that $180 million guaranteed. And I don't think Tua necessarily needs to rewrite the record books like Joe Burrow did as far as NFL quarterback contracts are concerned and just about everybody, because he's not quite at that level, but he's a franchise quarterback that you can win with, and extending him long-term is a far better option than taking a flyer on a guy in the draft or maybe trying to sign a free agent. Remember a couple of days ago, we had Joel Klatt's comments that the Dolphins should just start over and draft Michael Penix Jr. I couldn't disagree with that more because I think this Dolphins team is ready to win now. At times, they showed they can be arguably the most prolific offense in NFL history. Yes, they need to perform better against better teams, but the formula and the core and the skeleton of the Dolphins offense is in place. You add a few more pieces to support Tua, improve the offensive line, get a little more production from the tight end, improve the red zone scoring offense, and you're going to be looking good on the offensive side. And notice none of that had anything to do with replacing Tua Tagovailoa. But I want your one-word reaction to a potential Tua extension because I read the comments. I like most of them. I hate some of them. And a lot of the comments around Tua Tagovailoa will say how much he's terrible and how much he stinks at quarterback, and I just don't think that's the case. And maybe you think a free agent signing a guy like Kirk Cousins and so on and so forth is a better option, but let's not forget the learning curve with Mike McDaniel's offense and the implementation time it would take. Tua and Mike McDaniel are on the same page. Look at the numbers. Led the NFL in passing yards, second most yards per attempt. He was tied for 4th in touchdown passes, 3rd highest QBR. Tua has proven himself statistically. Now it's a team game, and it's about, as a team, as an organization, making some noise in the postseason in 2024 for the Miami Dolphins. Want to remind you to hit that subscribe button for all of your Miami Dolphins coverage. We continue to grow and continue to build this Miami Dolphins audience, which we love to see. You got to subscribe to the channel and turn those notifications on so you don't miss a thing. I'm up 24 hours a day thinking, how can I bring more Dolphins content? That's the type of dedication you get on Dolphins Today, and that's why you subscribe. Check out some of our coverage from the Combine as we get closer and closer to the NFL Draft. I can promise you this. My vocal cords will go tired, but I will not quit. My chest might feel tight, but I will not quit in providing the Dolphins coverage. All right, this question's coming in from Lofi Enemy NFT. Is it time to move on from Chubb if we are all in? Assuming you mean Bradley Chubb, who suffered that season-ending torn ACL. I I got to level with you, Lo-Fi. Sorry. No, it is not time to move on. Bradley Chubb is still a dynamic edge rusher that can wreak havoc on the opposition. He's a guy that had a breakout year last year, over 11 sacks. He's a guy that the opposition has to game plan around. A ton of quarterback hurries, a ton of quarterback pressures, led the NFL in forced fumbles for a period of time. I can't remember if he finished leading the NFL in forced fumbles because he did miss the last couple of games with that injury. But Bradley Chubb is a guy you build around on the defensive end. On the defensive side, there's a reason Chris Grier and the organization gave up so much to get Bradley Chubb, because he is an elite pass rusher in the National Football League. This question from Sherry May. What do you think about coaches blowing off the combine? I think they don't care about their job. That's what I think. I think blowing off the combine is inexcusable. And if NFL coaches don't want to be at the combine, why even have it? So that is interesting. Jack, have you heard of any of the coaches not showing up to the combine?
Pretty sure Mike McCarthy's not there.
Mike McCarthy not there. Interesting. So that's good stuff, Sherry May. I appreciate you bringing that to my attention. I can't imagine not being at the biggest event to evaluate the future of your team, of your organization. So very, very interesting. I'm glad Mike McDaniel's there. I think there's a lot of value to it. I don't think it's the end-all, be-all like some people do, but hey, I think you should be there if you're a head coach. All right, G-Fet Jake. Hey, my name's Jake. That's good stuff. Who do you think the Dolphins will draft the number 21 spot? Okay, gun to my head, they're taking somebody combined with who I think is going to be available. I'll say Jackson Powers-Johnson. He is in the middle of my big board because the Dolphins need offensive line, and I think he's very, very talented. I think he's very versatile. If there are better offensive line prospects, and some of this might change after the combine, Troy Fautanu out of Washington's an interesting proposition, and Tyler Guyton out of Oklahoma, also interesting. And I think some of the really highly rated guys like Joe Alt, they're going to go top 10. So unless the Dolphins trade up for them, no chance they're getting them. But Jackson Powers-Johnson just feels like the guy to me because he might be available and really, really good. All right, be the GM for me. Who should the Dolphins pick at number 21? Let your voice be heard. Love reading the comments on this because I'm so curious. Jackson Powers-Johnson is my guy if the draft were to happen today, but a lot can change. We reserve the right to change our opinion with new information and when it becomes available. As a reminder, share today's video, and if you've got a friend that's a Dolphins friend or a friend of a friend, or maybe a friend's, cousin's, dog sitter's uncle that's a Dolphins fan, share the video with them because we want to continue to grow our Dolphins Today channel.